Warning: the following was written and recorded before the start of the BTCC season, but due to illness was delayed until now.
Hello and welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport. The British Touring Cars begins again this weekend at Donington Park. It does not look to be in the healthiest of states. Not quite 2001 bare, but the grid is looking pretty bare right now. As much as I think this is only a good thing for Sutton, it's hardly enough to get the juices flowing like previous BTCC grids have in the past. So let's look at the issues facing the British touring cars and then do a preview for 2024 and maybe some predictions. I'll remind you, last year I got almost all of them right. Not a sign of my own geniusness, but more a symptom of how predictable this series has become. So make sure you subscribe for more motorsport content and let's jump into the video. So before we get to 2024, let's discuss the downward spiral the BTCC finds itself in. This can be broken up into several different categories because, trust me, there is more than one problem. The most notable for 2024 is the much smaller grid. Only 20 cars are listed to start the season at Donington Park, far below the fields of 30 we've had in previous years. More drivers can come in during the season. BMW still have a seat open apparently. Bobby Thompson tested the car but hasn't announced to be driving. A shame because he's really good and deserves it. This is largely down to money. Apparently it costs $500,000 to race for Team WSR BMW, $500,000 to race a full BTCC season. Now it probably costs a lot less to race for some of the smaller teams, but there are a lot less smaller teams around. The Privateers Championship is going to be contested between a few Cupras and a couple of Vauxhalls. Team Hard have downsized from 6 Cupras to a single entry for Darrell de Leon. Vauxhall 2 have dropped an entry, and as previously said, there are only 3 BMWs. This isn't necessarily a terrible thing when you consider how much dead wood was on the grid, with the likes of Jade Edwards, Nick Hamilton, Will Powell, Jack Butel and Michael Crease. All of those drivers had the talent and skill of cabbage, but we have also lost Dan Lloyd, Dexter Patterson, Tom Gamble, Rory Butcher, Ricky Collard and Bobby Thompson, all of which have shown to be decent midfield drivers, at least. Chris Smiley returning is mid at best, especially in a Cupra, but he might get some top 10s here and there. Scott Sumpton is currently the only new driver to the series, and well, he's hardly a world beater on paper. Darrell de Leon is still very young. Mikey Doble was decent occasionally. Sam Osborne got some surprise results, but whilst there are a lot less absolute rubbish on the grid, it still has a much more mediocre look about it. And on paper, maybe 10 drivers look capable of winning races, give or take, not including reverse grid races. The biggest absence is Honda, who haven't been missing from the top category since 2001, but even then there were several in the production class. The last time there was no Honda entries was 30 years ago in 1994. One Motorsport might be back. Team Dynamics are back. Not as an entry, but helping Hyundai over the next few years. The cost of racing has to come down. And if the problem is the hybrid unit, and I'm not sure what else it would be, get rid of it. The hybrid gives nothing to the racing except making it more complicated to follow for fans, with little to no visible bonus on track. There are other things that bother me about the BTCC currently. The racing just isn't that exciting. Too many times we saw results in race 2 that were similar to race 1, so the battles and overtakes are not happening. I'd like the reverse grid race to be race 2 instead of race 3, with 2 qualifying sessions for the other races. Race 3 should be slightly longer than race 1 and be the highlight of the weekend. The format for these races hasn't changed for years and neither has the calendar. It doesn't help that Rockingham closed down, but I'd like to see the BTCC try a new track or two. In a perfect world, bring back the Birmingham Street Course, but I know I'm dreaming. They could try and do something at Castle Combe or Goodwood or Pembury. I'm not suggesting an international round, but there are other circuits in the UK. There may be issues with size and safety, but I'd just like to see something new. Whilst GB3 and British GT do have an international round, in this case it just doesn't fit the BTCC and we want to cut costs, not raise them. Most tracks in the UK are too small for the BTCC paddock. Maybe if they jettisoned all the support categories, but then there's no real reason to have a race meeting there, so the calendar can't really change, and that is really sad because it would be just a little bit nice to see something different. Maybe they could support Formula E when they come to London, The track is far too narrow and there wouldn't be any overtaking, but at least it would be new. Maybe after 3 decades of watching the BTCC, I'm just a little burnt out on it. Maybe it's just going through a bad phase right now. As a fan, I want it to be the best it can be. I don't really have any solutions. Cost cutting would be the main one. Getting rid of hybrid would be nice, but goes against manufacturers' wishes, I guess. The type of car as well is an issue. Not many manufacturers are making pure hatchbacks and saloons these days. Cross-hatch vehicles aren't as good looking, and in racing trim, I feel they're a bit undignified. But it's the way the industry is going, and the Volvo estate was something a bit special. Hey, that was also 30 years ago. So with my moaning and groaning out of the way, let's get on to the preview, and honestly, it will be pretty short because there are a lot less drivers and a lot less teams, and not a whole lot has changed. Starting with Napa Ford, same lineup, but why change a good thing? And have no doubt this will be the team to beat. Ash Sutton is a master, and I think he will win a record 5th British Touring Car Championship. He's too good for the BTCC these days. I've suggested supercars as a good home for him if he was willing to relocate, but even British GT would be a step up at this point. Dan Camish will be looking to be more of a threat in 2024 after having some bad luck in 2023. Dan Rowbottom will be looking for more wins, and Sam Osborne is there as well. He was a lot better in 2023, and I think he may become a regular point scorer. I can see this team sweeping all the gold in 2024. Hyundai will be their main challengers, and they too have kept the same lineup and now have Team Dynamics on board helping them out. Tom Ingram is Sutton's greatest rival and will be winning races and being consistent throughout the year to be a constant form in Sutton's side. Tom Chilton has never been a real success in the BTCC, but this is his 18th season, and as one of the most experienced in the field, is handy backup for Ingram. Ronan Pearson started 2023 really badly, not finishing in the top 10 for the first 18 races. He managed it 4 times in the last 10 races and even came close to a podium. Continued improvement and challenging for podiums will be a good season for Pearson. Nick Halstead has to be the weak link. He only finished in the points twice in 2023 and finished last overall on negative points, with the exception of Jade Edwards. Just do better, Halstead, finishing in the points a handful of times, and you can consider 2023 to be a successful year for you. Toyota are the only team to have a really big shake-up. Rory Butcher, Ricky Collard and Tom Gamble have all left the team, and they have put together 4 new drivers to hunt for more success than they have managed in the last couple of years. Andrew Watson was a great signing for 2023, the best rookie and the Jack Sears Trophy winner. I would even say he's the best driver to join the BTCC in a very long time. Aidan Moffat has never been more than a midfield driver, 4 wins in 10 seasons, and a best finish of 8th overall in 2021. I think he'll struggle for top 10 this year. The top 2 signings are Josh Cook, another Honda refugee, and one that has been a real emerging talent over the last few seasons. 18 wins and 3rd overall in 2021. 2023 was his first winless season since 2017, and he will be eager to reverse that. Finally, a returning Rob Huff. The world champion is embarking on his first full-time BTCC drive since his single season in 2004 in a Seat. 20 years later, and with only 6 other races in the BTCC under his belt, the script has to be in Rob Huff's favour, the returning conquering hero. Let's see if it's meant to be. BMW have the same lineup minus Stephen Jelly, and that seat is listed as open but unfilled right now. Colin Turkington is starting his 20th season of British Touring Cars. He has 4 championships, 67 wins in over 500 races. He hasn't finished outside the top 5 in the championship since 2005. That's 15 seasons in the top 5 in a row when he's been there. You can't count him out, but both Colin Turkington and BMW have looked off the pace in the last couple of seasons, and all eyes will be on if that has changed. Jake Hill is the rising star of the BTCC. He's finished 3rd overall in the last 2 seasons and now has 12 wins under his belt, and again, I think he'll be a top star in 2024. Finally, let's quickly deal with the privateers. It shouldn't take long because there are not many. Restart Racing are running 2 Cupras, 4 returning race winner and TCR UK champion Chris Smiley. He will only ever be a midfield driver, and the Cupra is clearly cursed and will never win a BTCC race. Scott Sumpton is the series' only new driver, and the 19-year-old has a few years in TCR UK and Spain for experience. Tough learning year ahead. I wouldn't be surprised if he was last of this lot. The sole Team Hard Cupra has the young Filipino Daryl De Leon, a guy Team Hard have a lot of high hopes for, it seems. He did okay when he debuted last year, but both he and Team Hard are nothing special. Finally, Vauxhall and 2 entries with 2 of their drivers retained from last year. The very experienced Aaron Taylor-Smith returns for yet another series of midfield action. This is his 10th season and he has 4 race wins, the last of which was in 2016. And Mikey Doble, who did basically okay to debut in 2023. So far, that is the field taking part in the BTCC in 2024. We will probably get a few drivers jumping in and out, but at the moment, they are the 20 cars who will be competing for glory at Donington Park this weekend. So now for some predictions. As I said, Ash Sutton will be champion again, title number 5, and that is something he can be really proud of. I think it'll be his teammate Dan Camish, who runs him close in 2024, with Tom Ingram 3rd, Rob Huff 4th, and Colin Turkington 5th. For the manufacturers, Ford ahead of BMW, Hyundai and Toyota, Team Napa from Bristol Motors and Team WSR, Privateer has to be Aaron Taylor-Smith, and the Jaxes, a bit tougher to pick a winner, especially with only 5 pretty weak entries. I guess Mikey Doble and Vauxhall will win the Independence team title with ease. We actually have 13 race winners on the grid, so there is still every opportunity for really close racing, some real shocks, maybe new heroes and even a new champion. I could be completely wrong come year's end, and I usually am. So that was a look at all the problems facing the BTCC in 2024. I do think it needs a shake-up for the future. I don't want TCR UK to be the top British saloon car series. Not that there are many saloons involved in either series. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you're feeling brave, why not leave your predictions down there as well. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can keep an eye on the BTCC action in 2024 and all the motorsport from around the world that I cover here on Frontrunner Motorsport. Thank you very much for watching and have a good one.